You're looking at a photograph from 1899. A boy around 8 years old gently holds his little sister's hand. Both are dressed in formal Victorian clothes. He looks straight at the camera with a serious face. Her head is tilted a bit, leaning on his shoulder. It's a moving picture of brother and sister love, the sort Victorian families kept as special memories. For more than 100 years, this photo stayed hidden in a family album. It looked like a simple old picture, sweet, pure, and full of old-time charm. But in 2019, when a digital restorer started cleaning it up and fixing years of wear, something upsetting started to show in the dark areas. What he found completely changed what the photo meant. In March 2019, Sarah Mitchell was sorting through the attic of her grandmother's house in rural Pennsylvania after her grandmother passed away. Among old boxes of clothes, dishes, and faded papers, she found a worn leather photo album from over a century ago. It held pictures from the late 1800s and early 1900s. Strict portraits of family members, wedding shots, kids in their best outfits. Sarah, a 34-year-old history teacher who loved family history, wanted to scan these photos before they got worse. One picture stood out. A faded note in old ink said, "Thomas and Eliza Whitmore, September 14, 1899. The photo showed two kids. The older boy, Thomas, looked about 8. He wore a proper Victorian suit, with short pants, a dark jacket, and a stiff high collar. His hair was neatly combed to the side. He stared right at the camera with the grown-up look kids had in old photos. Beside him was his younger sister, Eliza, maybe 5 or 6 years old. She had on a fancy white dress with lace at the neck and sleeves, the kind saved for special days in middle-class homes. Her blonde curls fell over her shoulders. Her head leaned gently against her brother's shoulder, and most touching, Thomas held her hand firmly. Their linked fingers caught a moment of real care that felt timeless. Sarah decided this would be the first one she got fixed by a pro. She reached out to Marcus Chen, a digital expert in old photos, whose work she knew from history shows. Marcus took the job, interested because the original was still in fairly good shape after so long. Restoring old photos takes careful steps. Marcus scanned it at very high quality to catch every tiny detail. Then he started cleaning, removing brown foxing spots from damp and mold, fixing faded areas, and bringing back lost contrast. In the early hours, he worked on the worst spot, the lower right corner with bad water damage. As he cleared layers of stains bit by bit, he noticed something odd. In the background behind the kids, a shape started to appear that wasn't clear before. He zoomed in, boosted the contrast and sharpness, and then saw it. His stomach turned. He stared for a while, not believing it. He checked it wasn't a mistake from the process, but it was real. Hidden in the shadows for 120 years, now sharp and clear. Marcus called Sarah with shaky hands. "You need to come to my studio right now," he said. "There's something in this photo you won't like. It changes everything." Sarah got there fast. He showed her the cleaned-up image on his big screen. "Look at it first," he said. "Tell me what you see." Sarah looked with wonder. The colors were deeper, details crisp. She saw freckles on Thomas's nose, Eliza's fine lashes, the cloth texture on their clothes. "It's lovely," she said. "Just how I pictured it." "Check the background," Marcus said, sounding tight. Behind Eliza, to the left. At first, Sarah saw only normal things. A dark curtain, maybe a fake column from the photo studio, but Marcus zoomed in and boosted contrast more. Sarah saw it. The faint shape of an adult face, half hidden in the shadows behind the curtain. It wasn't a prop. It was a real person, standing there, trying not to show. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. "Someone's there." "There's more," Marcus said. He zoomed to the bottom near the kids, now clear. An adult hand coming from off the frame, holding Eliza's arm tight, just below where her brother held her hand. Sarah felt cold. "And look here," Marcus added. He focused on Eliza's face, her eyes. With better clarity, her eyes weren't calm. They looked sideways toward the hidden face, and in those eyes was fear, plain to see now. "This isn't a happy sibling photo," Marcus said softly. "Thomas isn't holding her hand just out of love. Look at his grip." He zoomed to their hands. Thomas's knuckles were white from squeezing hard. It was a tight hold. Eliza's head tilt looked forced, not natural. "Who is that person back there?" Sarah asked quietly. "I don't know," Marcus said. "But they didn't want to be seen. They stayed behind the curtain on purpose. And with the kids' looks, especially Eliza's fear, and that hand on her arm, I don't think this shows a good family moment." Sarah felt sick. "What do you think it shows?" Marcus paused, staring at the screen. "I think it shows something awful happening to this little girl. And her brother was trying to protect her. That's why he holds her so tight. It's not just care, it's shielding, maybe fighting back." Sarah sat down, unable to look away. The photo she'd loved now felt scary. "We have to find out what happened to these kids," she said. "Who that person is, and what was really going on." Sarah and Marcus started looking right away in September 1899. Records. Sarah knew these were her family ancestors. Her grandmother had mentioned the Whitmores vaguely, like something best left unsaid. She checked birth records. Thomas Whitmore was born March 3rd, 1891, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Father Edward Whitmore, a mill worker. Mother Catherine Whitmore, born Harrison. Eliza was born June 12, 1894, same parents. But then Sarah found something chilling. In March 1900, 6 months after the photo, Catherine Whitmore died of pneumonia at age 29. She kept searching. What happened to the kids after? The 1900 census showed Thomas, now 9 or 10, living with his mother's brother and family in Philadelphia. Eliza wasn't with him. Sarah found Eliza in 1900 living at St. Hundred. Living at St. Hundred. Living at St. Hundred. Living at St. Margaret's Home for Orphaned Girls in New York, run by the church. They had split, the brother and sister. Sarah checked old newspapers from Pittsburgh. In April 1900, a short article talked about a child welfare check at Edward Whitmore's home. It said authorities looked into bad conditions, and the kids were put in safe care for a while. The careful words pointed to trouble. Kids were taken from the father for their own good. More articles followed. By June 1900, Edward was warned for bad actions toward kids in his care, and he lost them for good. Things started to make sense in an awful way. Marcus looked up Pittsburgh photo studios from 1899. The picture came from J. Patterson and Sons. Old studios kept logs of jobs, sometimes with notes. He found a surviving page from September 14, 1899. Whitmore family children's portrait, ordered by Mr. E. Whitmore. Note, hard session. Kids upset. Young girl crying. Client, stay behind curtain the whole time to keep order. Suggest no more work from this person. Sarah and Marcus stared at each other, the face in the shadows. Sarah said, shaking, "It's Edward Whitmore, the father. He didn't hide by chance." "The photographer saw it," Marcus said. "He noted the father insisted on staying to control them. He was probably scaring the kids to sit still and look right." Sarah dug deeper. Edward had a bad name locally. Drinking fights, angry outbursts. Police notes from 1898 had a neighbor report of family trouble, but no charges, common back then when laws didn't protect families much. After Catherine died, her brothers got worried and called child services. A new thing then. Home checks showed poor conditions and signs of hitting the kids. They took them away fast. Thomas went to his uncle Robert Harrison in Philadelphia, but the uncle had his own big family, so Eliza went to the orphanage. Orphanage notes from April 1900. 6-year-old girl, very quiet. Won't talk. Shows old hurt. Needs extra watch. She slowly got better. By October 1900, she started talking more. There was some light in the sad story. Thomas, only 10, took the train monthly from Philadelphia to New York to see Eliza. Staff wrote, "Big brother visits every time. Girl gets happier after." When Thomas was 14 in 1905, he worked in a mill and saved money. In 1907, at 16 he got Eliza, now 13, out of the orphanage. They rented a small place and lived together. In 1910, they changed their last name to Harrison, their mother's family name. Later records showed Thomas married in 1915 at 24, Eliza in 1916 at 22. Both had kids. They lived long into their 70s, passing in the 1960s. Most touching, they lived just 2 blocks apart, all their adult lives. Even with their own families, they stayed very close. The boy who held his sister's hand so hard in 1899 to guard her kept doing it his whole life. The photo Sarah's grandmother kept quiet about wasn't sweet sibling love in a nice home. It was an 8-year-old trying hard to protect his 5-year-old sister from their cruel father in a forced photo session. It caught a girl's fear, a boy's fight, and a bad man hidden where he thought he'd stay unseen. For 120 years, damage hid the truth. Modern tools brought it out. Sarah had to decide what to do. She could hide it like before. Everyone was gone. Why stir old pain? But as a teacher, she knew ignoring bad history lets it continue. Silence helps abusers and hurts victims, even long-ago ones. So she wrote about it for a history journal. The research, the restore, the photo, with the father's face blurred, not to shield him, but because the story didn't need his clear face. It spread online. People felt shocked and touched by Thomas and Eliza's story, the fear, but also how they survived and built good lives. Sarah got many messages. Some shared dark finds in their own old photos. Others, abuse survivors, found hope in the siblings' strength. One note from Jennifer Harrison in Oregon hit hard. She was Eliza's great-granddaughter. Her grandma talked of the close bond between her mom and Uncle Thomas, something terrible they never spoke of, but made them stick together forever. "Now I get it," Jennifer wrote. "Thank you for the truth. It explains our family." Sarah and Jennifer met, linking family branches, lost for years. Jennifer shared old photos of happy elderly Eliza with kids and grandkids. Marcus started talks on how restoring photos does more than save pictures. It uncovers real history. "Every photo tells a story," he said, "but sometimes the biggest one hides in shadows, waiting for light." The restored photo went to the Smithsonian in a show about child protection history in America, how laws grew, why reporting matters, and how much better things are but still not perfect. Sarah visits when she can. She looks at Thomas gripping Eliza's hand while their father lurks behind and thinks how lose it came to staying secret forever. Without tech, curiosity and courage to look deep, the truth would have stayed dark. That photo wasn't just cute kids. It was a boy's brave shield for his sister, a girl's terror caught on film, a monster in the shadows who thought he'd never be seen. But 120 years later, light found him. Sometimes the biggest truths hide right there, waiting for someone brave to see them clearly.